Today we're starting part 3 of Project X-Haul. This is a 2005 GMC C5500, formerly a U-Haul box truck. It had 26 feet of frame back here. We bought it as a cabin chassis. We've cut off the rear frame and moved the axle forward. When I bought the truck, it had electrical issues that wouldn't allow it to start and run or drive. Was able to fix some of those problems enough to get home, but I still have to address another issue, which is the truck has no reverse. So in this video, we're going to get through this. The first thing we did was we checked for codes. It has 2 transmission codes. I'll show those here. And then we're going to start diving into it and see if we can figure out what's going on, whether I need to replace the transmission, is an electrical problem. Let's see. I'll show you how we go about it. So the code says there's a problem with the G solenoid. G solenoid, what I find, is apparently what controls the reverse. So it could be many things. It could be a faulty solenoid. We could have a internal wiring problem, external wiring problem, and we could have a bad reverse in the transmission itself. So in order to find the problem, what I did is I found this pinout, which gives us the location of all of the wiring for the transmission, for that connector on the back. These are not the speed sensors. These are just what controls the inside of the transmission. So what we have to do is find the G solenoid. So we have a G solenoid control, and then right underneath there is solenoid F and G power. Now we had 2 codes, so it's possible that the F is the TCC solenoid. And if that's the case, if that wire feeds both of them, that could be why we have a problem with 2 codes. So what we want to do is go to the back of the transmission, and we want to look at R and S, and we want to see if those 2 terminals have power and ground when it's required. So I'm assuming, and I'm not familiar with Allison transmission control modules, but I'm assuming that the TCM controls the ground side. Typically you get a positive feed constant, and then the TCM will control the ground. And in this case, if we're sharing the power, that's probably what it is. We have a separate control wire for the S. Let's see, where's control. There's solenoid. Yeah, there's TCC. That would be on J. So we either have a problem with the J control and the S control, or we have a problem with the power that's supplied to both of them, or it's not coming out of the transmission control module itself, or an internal failure. So first thing we're going to do is go down to the transmission, get to this connector, and we're going to back probe it and see if we have power and ground at these terminals, as we just said. If we have it there, then we need to go inside the transmission. If we don't have it there, then we got to go from the transmission to the TCM. So we'll back probe on the TCM. So let's get to that now. So I'm down here on the transmission, and a lot of times these connectors will the seal will get bad between the two and lets oil, transmission fluid, get into this harness. As you can see, it is just an oily mess. But this is a bit concerning. That looks like a razor blade has cut that. That's pretty straight. No way. No way. Is that what I just... This can't be that easy. Normally it takes a little while to find these problems. What terminal is that? That is... Well, I guess we got some inspection to do. Oh, look there. That's green wire right there. Nah, somebody was trying to find this. Somebody was trying to find that problem. You can see that they cut it and tried to test it. It's telling me more than likely this wire's no good somewhere forward. Why would they do... God, look how soaked this harness is with transmission fluid. This is awful. So this transmission really probably needs that connector replaced, which means an internal harness. Well, let's get it apart. Let's start doing some checking, because the first thing we're going to do is find out what this wire is. That's green with a white stripe, and it's in location... What is that? 3rd row? Yeah, let me get it out and see. But we're going to see if we got a signal coming from here and what this... it's got some corrosion. It's It's been like that for a while. That transmission fluid probably kept it from corroding too much. Anyways, let's get this out of here. Oh, it does not want to come off, does it? Oh, yeah, I can take two hands. Well, I would say that is soaked. That sucks. Alright, let's find the pin location and see what that is supposed to control. This is the top. Yeah, let me find out. So I found this wire that they apparently must have had soldered. It looks like it's soldered. There's only one problem. This is not the correct wire. This is, you see how coarse these strands are. This is what's called THHN. Why is the heat shrink way back here instead of up here? That's weird. See how coarse this wiring is? This is not meant to be on a vehicle where it vibrates, because it'll break. It will do exactly what it did there. Vibrate and break strand after strand. So we're going to temporarily hook this up and see if our problem goes away, because it looks like this was tucked up here like it was supposed to go into here. So we're going to quick, fast, in a hurry just splice these two together, clean this connector out, and see if the code goes away. Well, I just put a jumper in that wire and plugged it back in, cleared the codes, turned the key on, and before, as soon as you turn the key on, it would reset the code. So that may be the problem, at least one of the problems. It may not be the problem with the reverse, but I printed out, I looked up the pin out of that, but apparently that doesn't apply to this one. I'm not sure, because it says that would be number S. That would be port S, and port S on this is black, solenoid F and G power, but that could be because G is supposed to be the reverse from what I understand. So that may have been why we have no reverse, has no power to the solenoid that engages it. I don't know, but we're going to trace down and see where is the problem with that wiring, because we're not going to leave that house wiring, and I'm not a workaround type of person. Like, I'd rather find the problem, because more than likely, if you have a problem with the wiring somewhere where it's rubbed through or something has happened, there's a good possibility others are damaged as well. So let's try and find the problem, find the cause, fix the effects, and then fix any potential problems that may be in that area. So let's see what we can find. So here we are in the passenger front corner, and the transmission control module is right here. You got them stacked: power distribution module, a fuse box, ECM, TCM, here, transmission controller. And here's where they cut it and spliced in that coarse wire, and they have run it down this way and just taped it down long and routed it around. So the first thing we're going to do is look for any obvious signs of damage to this wire loom, paying close attention to everywhere it mounts, because a lot of times people won't put stuff back in the holders and they'll rub. So we'll do a visual inspection first. And it gets a little tight back in here, as you can see, but it comes into that big mess right there. So the next thing we'll do is get the air cleaner out of here, gain us some room. I know a lot of guys are just saying, man, just replace that wire, but I'm telling you, if one is damaged, the possibility that another one's damaged, and you could chase this for a while or have more problems later, it's just too high. If you're gonna fix it, fix it. So one of the biggest things about tracing down wiring problems is finding where someone has been before you, if there's, especially in this case. being a fleet truck and knowing the manufacturer, how they do things. If you notice right there, get a light in there. Can you see that little tab of electrical tape there? You see how wide that tape is? That's typical GM. So when you come down here and you find the smaller tape, now we know somebody's been in here because that's not GM. So that'll be one of the first places we look. And then we find more right here. So someone's been right there. You can see we're not in the holder where it belongs, right there. So we have to inspect this. They got zip ties holding this. So we're gonna pull this down and look inside here and see what reason that they had this torn apart, because you can see this is substantially smaller in diameter than it is right here, which leads me to believe there may be something going on there. So I've traced the harness all the way up into here. I'm getting up into this area and I'm getting a little concerned, like I haven't found it yet and maybe I missed it. And then I saw this. This is a torque arm that holds the core support from moving. This isn't a factory clamp. And this one was around the loom holding it in place, and I didn't see that. And I took it off and I started peeling the loom back, and the dust and dirt was falling out, and I'm like, yeah, we're getting somewhere now. And then I pulled it apart and look right there. There's it right there. Look how close this is to where they cut that out. I mean, here's the wire here, and here's the bad spot right in there. So now I don't think there was a problem with damage to the harness. It looks like, if I can show you this, it looks like it's just rubbed on the wire loom. You can see these notches right here. This is pretty common in commercial trucks. You'll see this where it sits in that loom and the wire just rubs on the edges of this until it rubs through the insulation, which you can see there. Maybe you can see it. You know, there's several spots. There's one there, there's one there, there's one there. And it's funny because they coincide with the spacing on the loom itself. So I think we found a problem, at least a problem. We don't know if this is the problem. Look at that, that's awful. And it's just so funny, they were right there. And obviously they put this on here for a reason. A little bit farther at whichever trip it was. This was at 3 different places to get the transmission fixed. And I guess this splice here was their workaround. So we're just gonna cut this out. We'll do away with this garbage. We'll take this all out, and we're going to go back into here and see where we can find good wire, how far back we have to go to where it's good and insulated. There's no tape on this either, so someone's been in here. So we have to get through all of this harness and make sure it's not rubbed through on any of the other wires that are going to cause, oh, looky there. And what I said about the likeness, you'll have more troubles? Right there. This is why you don't fix the effects. You find the cause. You don't do workarounds. But this is exactly why. Now those are twisted pairs, so when we make this repair here, we'll have to replace it with a twisted pair of wire. That's probably a vehicle speed sensor. Let's see, we got 3 twisted pair. So they're probably speed sensors or something of that nature, I guess. But we'll have to inspect all this real good. But that's what I'm telling you. All right, so let me start getting the repair. We got to test this wire too to make sure it's actually good and see how far back we got to go.
You'll have to excuse the noise of our heater because, you know, we live in Ohio and it's still cold here.
Yeah, summer one day, winter the next. heat shrink with the adhesive in it, and I just put a little deox on the connection before I put the heat shrink on. That way if any moisture does get on there, the deox can help fight it, help fight the corrosion. But you see I'm using a dark green wire here. This is actually from an old GM. And that's one reason when I take trucks apart, I save harnesses, because a lot of times there's a lot of good wire in there that you couldn't get otherwise, or it'd be difficult to find. I'll show you my box of GM leftover wiring here in just a minute. Once I see the glue coming out of the end, the adhesive, I know we're good. There it is.
I don't know if this is the only one, but this is one of them. This is where he got that wire out of.
Okay, I'll let that cool a little bit. Not a lot. I like to get the deox on it while it's still warm. There we go. It spreads easier that way. I can get it all over the whole thing. There we go. Okay. Now, pull our heat shrink up there. Get it centered on the splice. There we go. Now, make the heat shrink shrink.
See how nice that heat shield is on there?
Mm-hmm.
That Bill Speck button.
Old Bill Speck.
That's nice, because otherwise you could accidentally scorch your other wires. But it's kind of nice.
Well, I've done that a time or two.
Yeah. It was very nice of him.
He always knows what I need.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, I think he's got a hidden camera in his shops, so he can tell what I'm complaining about, what I need. Okay, that's it. Now I just got to inspect the rest and fix them, because we got several others. So I guess I'll do that now. Alright, so I don't have a red and blue twisted pair, but I got blue and orange, so we'll make our own twisted pair. You saw how close the twists were. We're just going to do this until we get real close to that. We don't want to pull it too tight.
It's getting hard to hold.
It's probably good right there.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go see how close
Here,
we are.
hold that in, so don't, okay.
Lego my ego. See how close of a match we have.
Did you show him that other one that you found? Okay.
I'm all right with that. Now, because this is a different color, I'm going to make my splice way up here at the top so that it's obvious. If you come up here to do any diagnostic work, you'll be able to see that, hey, it's been spliced up here and changed colors. So at least you'll know if you get into this harness, it's changed colors, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That's the plan, Stan. So now I got to take this tape off that I just put on. I needed to get that replacement green wire in there, and I wanted the right length. So I just taped this in. So, all right, let me get this cut out and fixed here. So, in an ideal situation, I would just ran the wires up to that connector and repinned it. I just don't have the correct pins to do this. I like to get my heat shrink centered over that joint just right before I go all the way. But I don't have the right pins for it, so soldering deox and heat shrink is what's going to have to do for this repair. So that'll do. Let the heat shrink cool just a little bit, and then I'll continue my twist. Should be just fine. I'll tape this in. Then we have to loom everything back together. I always put tape on either side of my repair so it's not pulling on my repair wherever my solder joint is. Okay, let's work.
Well, we got the drive shaft in, lined up well, and it's phased, and he's just crimping these, I don't know what they're called.
Boot clamps.
Yeah, that.
So this tool crimps that boot, and if you look what it does, it not only brings these two jaws together, but after it comes in so far, this pushes, and it will flatten the clamp, so it actually holds. So if you watch, see how that clamp is. I'll get a light. Okay, you can see how the clamp is kind of flat now, and I've got it spread apart. And I put that tool on there. You may have to go from the side here, maybe. Can you see it in here? Or is it just too hard to get to?
It's kind of hard to get to.
Yeah. Anyways, I guess you get the gist of it. It squeezes and pushes down on that clamp at the same time. And the only thing this clamp is doing is keeping dirt and debris out of that slip joint. Now, next thing we'd want to do would be to grease the drive shaft, but I want to grease the whole truck at the same time, so we'll hold off on that. Drive shaft's in. I'm going to do the electric now. We got to get this harness, what used to be in here. We're going to run it where it needs to go, and I have to do either zip tie up what's extra or cut it.
There's a lot extra.
Solder it and splice it. It's down there on the floor.
I know, and then it runs back here. I was
Yeah.
looking back here at how
Yeah,
much is extra.
There's 13 feet of extra wire here. Yeah, so let's get it fished through. This is what GM uses to zip tie the harness to the frame. So I cut the back sides of them, and I just take the original part and work my way out. Of course, this one's got a lot of paint on it. Work it out, and then pull one out, pull the other side out, and then you can take a regular zip tie, go through it this way, go through the hole in the frame, around the wire loom, back through that hole. And up through the hole here. Hold them two, hold it together.
Your light's kind of in the way.
Just start that. Grab a hold of your zip tie. Get it where you want it. And you're done.
That works pretty good.
Alright, so now we have this ground. So I need to clean up the ground itself and clean up the spot on the frame where it's going to go. We're not going to use that locating tab because you can see it was meant to go here. It was a threaded hole, but we don't have that option, so because our stuff's in the way, we're gonna go right there. So I trimmed this down. I'm getting ready to put the bolt in, but I'm putting what's called a serrated washer on either side. So when I put this washer in there, it'll bite really good into that and into the frame. Ensure a good ground for a long time. And clean the frame up too. Just tighten that up real quick. That's fine. So I'll use the wrench to hold that right where I want it so it doesn't twist that eyelet, and tighten the nut on the outside. There we go. That's one down. Now we're on to the fuel line, or the fuel pump wiring up here. It's extremely long now. I don't need all this, so I think I'm going to splice it right, probably down in this area here. Use this to go in the sending unit like so. I got to drill another hole in the frame for that, or I could bring it through one of these holes because it's not a very big wire. You'd never be able to get this back through the frame though. I don't know if that's really a big deal. I may regret it later. I'll think about it. As you can see, we have a big loop down here, and I considered cutting that and taking that out and shortening it up. I'm just not sure if I want to, because that creates about I'm guessing somewhere around 20 splices. So that's just more places moisture can get in, and I may just zip tie it up across this here so it's protected and it's inside here. And if somebody ever wanted to take this longer again, I guess they don't have to lengthen the wires, but I just don't like the idea of cutting it if I don't need to. Everything else is laid out well, and this I just kind of went back and forth around here for the fuel pump and the sending unit. Now we're going to do this ground. I like to use a serrated washer. I use it on both sides so that we're certain we're going to get a really good connection. You can see how that's going to go in, and clean the frame up. And then once we're done, if we can remember, we'll put some spray over top of that. We'll use a wrench. We use a wrench to hold it so it doesn't twist my eyelet. Yep, and there's our ground. Now for this, I could go under easily, just come underneath here and zip tie it up in if we wanted to. The fuel tank's going to protect it. I just don't care to put another hole in the frame just to bring a wire through. I can feed it through here if I de-pin it or whatever, but I'm not sure I want to. I don't know yet. I just have to decide, I guess. So we're starting to fit the sending unit. Got the wiring brought through. I brought it through a hole here. I de-pinned the connector, brought it through the hole. You know, it may, I don't know, may come back to haunt somebody later, but I think it's a good fit. I didn't drill another hole. I left these other holes open on purpose for the upfit, so we can slide a bracket down here and use these holes if need be. So now we have to hook up the fuel lines. This is a pressure. This is a vent. This is a return. This is another vent. This vent goes to the charcoal canister. This one just goes to a little pressure relief type vent. These two, I believe, need to be pushed to connect. This one's just a regular vent, so it's not really a big deal. However, they have to cross over, I think. I have to double check the plumbing here. So I'm making my fuel lines, and I'm using this kit. It's got push to connect fittings in it, and you just cut the line and work them on. Make sure your fittings are on all the way before you cut your line. And then just like so. I think I'm going to turn this line. It has a natural curve. I'm going to use it to my advantage. Just take that and turn it 9 degrees. See how that works for me. Help me at all? Or is it better the other way? It might be better this way. I always slide my clamps on so I don't forget. And that tool is going to come in handy again, because it's going to clamp this down. No need to get overly carried away with that clamp, because you'll just break it. And then, because I want my connector buttons on top, I have to orientate these the right way. Clamps on. Bring this in. That's enough there. This one's just a vent line. There's no pressure on it at all. And it just had a, actually it didn't even have a clamp on it if I remember right. Yep, that fits, okay. Cut it to length. Now you might think we're done, but we're not.
Too bad.
Now, the fuel lines are done. So the fuel lines are all finished up. We got them protected with wire loom, and then I got the electric line and vent line zip tied. So that ought to make it very, very easy for servicing. Just take it loose, change your fuel pump when you need to. So now this cover can protect this really nice. So we need to paint the fuel tank now. We're going to paint the fuel tank, paint the cover, and I think that part is going to be done. The transmission works. It goes forward, it goes reverse, just like you see in the video. So I think we're good there. So what do we have left to do on this truck to address? One is the quarter fender up here was damaged, so I removed it. I went to one of my other properties, and I was lucky enough to have one off of one of these trucks that is not damaged, and it's white. So we have to get that cleaned up, and when I say we, I mean you. And then it'll need detailed and waxed, all that kind of stuff. But the next thing, the last few hurdles to get over are going to be the tires. This truck originally had nothing but steer tires on the rear and the front, and there was no drive tires. So we're going to choose 2 good steer tires for the front, and then I'm going to get 4 drives. I'm going to take them off something I already have, because the truck that I'm thinking about taking them off of really needs bigger tires. It has the size this truck takes, but it really needs to have not 19.5s, but 22.5s. And I think we're just going to take them off of that truck and use those as drives. And that'll take care of that, because I'm trying to keep this budget as low as possible, because the more money I put into this truck, the more money I have to get out. The more specific I build this truck, the smaller number of buyers that are interested. Because remember, this is an 05 8.1 gas with 175,000 miles. So it's only going to bring so much money, and I gotta be mindful of that always. So that's why we're not buying brand new tires. It would cost me somewhere between $1,500, $1,800 for new tires for the back. $1,500, maybe up to $2,500, depending on the brand. I picked up this hitch plate here. This is a 1/2-inch hitch plate. So we need to get it on the back. We're going to go ahead and put a hitch on. And we'll do a little bit of work to this to make it ready to go for the next guy. I need to get something for lights on the back. I like to make my light brackets because it allows me to save some money because I already have the material. I already have some lights, I think. If not, I'll look at PartSam's website and see what they have we could use. But I'll probably make them and make it to where the license plate hangs on that as well, and the mud flaps. And I need a battery. They put a battery in this. Whoever put it in stripped out the negative. It's a side terminal crap battery. We're going to put a group 31 in it. And I think we're in the home stretch. We got to bleed the brakes. We started bleeding the brakes. One of the bleeders was broken. I just want to go through and bleed everything again because we lost a lot of fluid. But I think we're about there. We're coming along. Made a lot of good progress. So hopefully that part of the transmission, if you have that problem, you have those codes, maybe it helps you with your problem. But anyways, that's it for now. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll catch you on the next one when we come back and we start on the tires, the hitch. Let's call it the gingerbread, the last bit of the goodies. And we're going to put it for sale. I'm probably going to be at 10 grand on this truck. That's probably where I need to be based on the money I got to spend yet. And if it sells quick, great. If it doesn't, then I'll entertain the idea of putting a new dump bed on this truck. Or I have another dump bed. You know, the blue dump bed I got. You know what I'm talking about. I may bring that one over. It's a 10-foot dump. It's set up for a high cab like this one, so the cab protector is tall enough. The sides aren't horribly tall. It would work well in this truck, but it needs some work on the outside. So that might be interesting to rehab a dump bed. If not, if it sells, we don't have to worry about it. Or we'll just buy a new one. But anyways, thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one.